There's one thing I've been longing to find for a really long time, which is to close the gap between life and art. I just did not understand how I can feel so alive when I'm on stage, when I'm performing, when I'm being or moving or being a character, and how I would feel so frozen in the rest of my life. And it is a question that still occupies my mind, even though I would say it has evolved over the years, which is the nice thing, isn't it? I remember that when I was doing the training in theater and education, we were doing a weekend workshop of voice and dance and movement. And at the end of it, everybody was kind of exhausted and hanging in a corner. And I got this kind of burst of energy out of nowhere. And I literally did not know what to do with it. And it felt kind of scary in a weird way. I had so much energy and I didn't know where to put it. It lasted for a few days, and then I was kind of like back to the more dampened, I would say, version of myself, where you maybe are kind of 2 steps removed from the world. And so that stuck really with me, but I did not have any solution to this or what this was all about. The next station that's also still very much in my mind was when I was in London doing the School of Physical Theatre, and I did the additional program of being able to develop my own show, which was called Circus of Emotions. And I had several characters that were part of this show. And some of them were also depressed and anxious, others were very vibrant. The whole thing was quite intense, and in a way, my subconscious had given me everything I kind of needed to know. It was all there. But I couldn't decipher it. And I also had this feeling of, I'm creating these really wonderful characters that are full of life. And I don't know how to transport that over into my life. It felt like utterly separate. There was this space where I was allowed to be alive, and then normal life, where kind of most of the time would feel in some way, shape or form cut off. And then I had a whole era of searching that went into, from the perspective from now, into dead ends. You know, down the, oh my God, so many roads, you know, countless roads that I would call like new age stuff. And in the midst of all the searching, I was also diagnosed with Hashimoto's and autoimmune. So a lot of searching and really wanting to close that gap. Another thing that I also remember was 2008, when I did a film training in LA, and there was a colleague of mine who did the acting for a completely different reason to me. It was really interesting. So he was doing it to escape himself. And for me, it was the opposite. It was like, for me, it was the way to find myself, to finally find myself, or yes, find myself in the sense of being and feeling alive. So it was really the opposite intention to my colleague. And for me, it has been always about finding myself and connecting with myself. That's what all the artistic expression has been about. And that question, how can it be that it is so separate from life? And there must be a way that what we do in our artistic expressions carries over, I guess, positively into life. And I think I only started to understand why maybe for me this was so separate, and why I maybe have a strong part that feels it's not safe to be alive in quotes in normal life most of the time. It's safer to shrink and to be slightly dissociated. And I think a lot more understanding came for me from finding Dr. Ramani and doing her program on healing from narcissistic abuse, and understanding where I was coming from, that there had been quite a few narcissists in my family system. And so I was lucky enough to be able to act from a young age, which gave me that safe space. But in normal life, it seemed to be much safer just to shrink in a way and disappear. And so that was a really, like, I started to understand those different parts more. Thought for a long time, I wish I would have known this sooner, but I didn't. Then I started the nervous system regulation work as well, and parts work, which comes from internal family systems. And while I still might not have found the answer to closing the gap, I do feel that I'm starting to find ways of doing that. And I think the showing up in character has been one of those ways where you just kind of show up with your character on camera for 30 days and just do it 1 minute every day and ask yourself how it's impacting the rest of your life. Can you find a new perspective? Can you do things differently? Is this something you want to incorporate into your life? So yes, slowly but surely, I'm finding ways to close the gap and hopefully show others too how they can close the gap. This is Anja, performer, actress, improviser, artist, writer, creative coach.